Hello,
Hello.
everyone. It's us. We're not actually Vincent Green.
No, we aren't.
We're not sure what that's about, but we are legit Christy and Angie.
We are.
It's us. Hold on. Let me pull up the comments. There we go. Now we can see what's happening. Hey, if you're on, say hi to us.
Yeah. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. Yes.
Yeah.
We've been sitting here trying to figure out what we were going to talk about for, I don't know, an hour?
Or we were doing other things.
We were doing other things. I was finishing up some things, and then we, got sidetracked by different conversations. And get this. So we're in the basement of our building.
Oh my gosh.
And Christy went to go throw something away, and she goes, there's a worm coming out of the air conditioner. So there's a window unit in the basement.
Yeah.
And literally a worm hanging from the bottom little vent thing. You know what I'm talking about? It's hanging.
Yeah.
Maybe we should send him a picture.
Yeah, I could post the picture.
Can we post pictures?
I don't know.
In comments? I don't think that we have that capability. But anyway, you'll just have to, maybe I'll post it later so you can see the activity that happens in the basement of our building. So yes, I mean, how often can you say that there's worms hanging from your window unit?
Worm coming in your building.
Right. Hello, ladies. Karen Lowe.
Hi, Karen.
Yes, hello, Karen. I know. Yuck.
Yeah.
So the trash can is actually directly below the window unit, and so Christy just pulls the lid off because the thing is seriously
like
stretching out. She's like, I think it's gonna fall, and so she just pulled the lid off, and the little guy fell right into the trash can, and it was fine.
Yes,
it was fine. It's in the trash, so we feel like it probably...
There's food in there for it. It's dark. Worms like the dark, and there's food, so it should be fine. Right?
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. No worries.
I don't want to touch it, so...
No worries, all of you people who are, the all creatures fanatics. It's fine. Worms love compost, and that's what we did. We gave it a home. We did. Everything's fine.
It'll compost that bag of trash?
Yes. Yes. Anyway. We should talk about something other than
the disgusting worms.
Other than worms. We've had all kinds of fun things happening down here after the rain. We've got a spot in the basement that's actually leaking. So, Christy and I are just down here assessing things and taking care of business. We'll deconstruct some things here in a little bit.
Yeah,
we'll keep you
the guys
posted.
want to come down and help us. We're going to.
I kind of like to tear things apart.
Yeah.
I think it'll be fun. Yeah. So anyway, how is everyone's Wednesday? Give me some heart.
Thursday.
I mean Thursday. At least it's not Friday.
It's
not Friday. Usually I say it's Friday. It's Thursday. So how's your Thursday?
Yeah.
Give us some hearts if your Thursday is amazing.
Yeah. Let us know.
Who said that I'm in? Oh, I'm not. What? I'm on. Hi, Carla. I love Carla. Carla, Christy just said. Was this yesterday or the day before?
I can't remember. The days are all mixed together.
See, I thought that it was Wednesday all week.
Yeah. All our days are mixed.
All day.
All day.
She was just saying, I don't even know Carla, but I just feel like she's the kind of person I want to, what did you say? I want to sit.
I want to sit and have coffee with you. I just wanted you to come and hang out with us. And
I said, well, you've got it right. Carla is the type of person you sit on a front porch swing with. So, anyway, let's talk about the topic. Yeah. Christy came in like locked and loaded and had all kinds of things to say about God calling her to allow pain to touch her.
Yeah.
And I was like, shoot, that's big.
Yeah, it's big. It feels big. And this all came from last night. We are doing worship nights here. If you're local, you're missing out.
You are.
There have been some amazing and powerful times, and it's just coming really back to like the heart of like the real core of what worship is. It's just praising God. Yeah. There's no show. There's no nothing. It's just you and God sitting in this space. And for me, who has a crazy household, the Wednesday nights have been kind of a refuge. My kids don't come. They're usually in bed, so I can truly just be. And God's saying some powerful things during that time to me. Last night it was on grief and on how almost I've let society and the things, the hurts of the world just kind of brush over. I think this last year there's been a lot of hurt and a lot of hard times, and putting up those walls and just not letting it really affect me. And last night God just kind of like, let it affect you. Let it hurt with the things that haven't happened yet, and be okay with that hurting you and affecting your emotions. And for you guys who don't know, I'm a foster mom, so my kids come into the house and have some pretty hard stories. And so often I hear their stories and I put up this wall of like, I need to be strong. I need to be there for them and don't let their stories hurt or affect me. And he's kind of like, they need to hurt and they need to affect you. Just like others, like the stories that I hear that we've had come in, even off of you guys, off Bliss, come in. And so often it's like, okay, well, I'm going to be strong and I'm going to do these tasks. And God's like, no, stop and feel the hurt of my people, the hurt of the people, and that's okay to sit in that sometimes and be okay with that grief.
Yeah. So why do we shy away from pain, Christy?
Lots of reasons. I think for me, the biggest reason that I shy away from it, I think, is because somebody's going to tell me to get over it.
Yeah.
Or I'm not going to be able to do the tasks that I need to, whether it's be a mom, whether it's do stuff with Bliss, whether it's whatever, if I'm sitting in that pain and grief. And then sometimes it's scary. It's scary to go that deep and be hurt by something, not knowing what's going to happen on the other side of it.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, and you can tell me if like the specifics are off limits. We should have talked about this beforehand, but I don't think you're alone in the specifics of what was going on last night.
Yeah.
But I think that when we share our stories more openly, people identify with what it is that we're going through, and they're like, I don't feel alone. Yeah. And that's what's interesting, because it was that song last night where God was like, the worship song was about us not being alone. Like he is there, and blessed are the brokenhearted. And I mean, the song was gut wrenching.
Oh, yes, it was.
But I think that that's how we feel so often, is that we're alone in this.
Yeah.
Like there's no way that anybody could possibly understand what it is that we're going through, and we're alone.
Yeah. And I think that's something that as women we do, is we isolate whether it's the problem. And I'll tell, part of it is I want to have my own baby. I love my kids. I love my foster kids. I love my adopted kids. They're mine. And I tell everybody that, like, they're my kids, no questions asked. When people ask how many kids I have, all my kids count. But I want one of my own. Like my husband and I have been praying for one and have heard words that God has said, you will have a baby. And it's been 2 years now since I think we first heard that, and we don't have our own. And so I think sitting in that, I think so often those types of issues, whether it's bleeding, whatever it is, that we hide from the world because it doesn't show that we're strong. It doesn't, I don't know why we do it, because it doesn't make sense, because we were told to from a young age not to talk about those things.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But you put up, I don't know if we shared it with Bliss, we should. There's a beautiful discussion on these things. Yeah. And that kind of hit me of like, we shouldn't hide from these things, and we should be able to sit in each other's grief and each other's pain to be able to celebrate each other also.
Oh, that's so big. So big.
Yeah.
Just being able to be in a space of celebrating one another's victories is so huge. But we shy away from both. We shy away from each other's pain and from celebrating one another. So
and I think if we don't know the pain and the struggles that each other are going through, then how are we going to celebrate the other side, the triumph that comes on the other side? Because it will come.
Right.
I have no doubt about that. The triumph will come no matter what you're going through now, whatever the pain is, the triumph will come.
Yeah.
And the joy will come.
Yeah.
But if we don't know what that is, then I think we get frustrated with each other, almost like, oh, you aren't celebrating this. Like, this is a big deal. Well, if they didn't know what the pain was to sit with, it's hard to celebrate that triumph to come.
Right. No, that's so good.
So,
And I just think about the times where I have allowed grief to touch me have really become the most victorious spaces in my life is allowing those things in. And at that point, I don't think I'd ever really allowed pain to touch me. I think I got really good at deflecting pain and just pretending like everything was fine. And I remember my mother-in-law one day calling me out, and well, actually, she was calling my smile out. She was like, and she didn't say this to me. She said to my husband, but she was just like, really questioning my smile, that I was like hiding behind this smile, and I mean, I was purely insulted by her thought process there, but I'm not so sure she was wrong. That, because I think that through the years I learned to just smile my way through things, and joy will work for a while. You can, I mean, it does become your strength. That's a promise that we have, and you can lean into joy.
Yes.
And but I was all the way in joy and denying everything else, and not realizing that there's actually, and this was a huge realization, that passion is actually derived from pain. Like we can't be passionate about things, purely passionate, unless we have allowed pain to touch us and transform us. And it's a weird topic to even want to like delight in, because it's like, how do we get excited over each other in the area of grief? But and it's interesting that Carla's actually on here, but she was my biggest cheerleader, and this is no secret. I've told everyone everywhere that she was the biggest cheerleader. When every single voice, and you hit on this, when every other voice in my life was telling me to get over it, she was the one going, no, get to the bottom of the grief. And that was the permission that I needed. I mean, she was the exact voice that I needed in that moment. And her words would just continue to reverberate on the inside of my being. When I thought that there was no way that I could go any further, her words would come back and just remind me, get to the bottom of the grief. And I think that what comforted me most in that moment was knowing that even if it was just one other person believing that I was strong enough to do this, that was enough. That was enough. And what it did was help me find Jesus. It helped me find Jesus in all of it, because it turns out he's there waiting. I mean, that's where he's at. So like when there's invitations to allow pain to touch us, he's there. It's like when David, that Psalm of David's like, where can I go that you're not already there? The depths of the sea, the heights, how he goes on and on. But it's so true. He's there. He was already there waiting for me. And I, one of the darkest points was this vision that I kept having, was of me with, I was ready to take out the perpetrator. I mean, like, I was in my grief, I was feeling quite violent. And that was okay, because he was there with me. And I couldn't have done it if Jesus wouldn't have been there. And there was never a moment where he scolded me. There was never even a moment where he corrected me. All he kept repeating over and over and over again is, I'm here. He wanted his presence acknowledged above anything else, that I'm here. Stay with me. Those were his words. I'm here. Stay with me. And so I think that just like all that he wanted from me in that moment was me to acknowledge that he was present. He was in it, and he was going nowhere.
Which is so something I think we forget. Sometimes going to the depths, it's diving into a dark hole, and that can be really scary. But knowing that Jesus is down in that dark spot waiting for you, there's hope there.
Right. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So, and it just remind me of our last bliss when we had a lady who came in hurting.
Yeah.
And once she came to Jesus and she was there, she literally could find hope.
Yeah.
She found hope. She found hope of telling her story to others to bring them out of those dark spots. It was within an hour that we saw that, and we saw Jesus work in that grief because she went there and she found him.
Mm-hmm. That was powerful.
And through the tears, she was able to say, I now see the hope.
Yeah. Yes. And so, she was all the way in grief. I mean, she's so brave. I still marvel. I'm just like, she's so brave, so courageous. And so I think too that that intimacy, like there was so much intimacy carved out for me by allowing grief to touch me, by allowing the pain to surround me until I really was able to get to the bottom of it. And there really was a bottom.
Yeah.
It might not feel like it, but there really was a bottom to it. There was an ending point where, for me, it was very dramatic because, I'm dramatic. And so that's what's so neat to me is like Jesus, he's the guide through it all. And it's not going to look the same one to another. Yeah. So like, your grieving process of, God, I want a baby and grieving what's not there yet is going to be totally different.
It's different.
Because it's going to be unique to your personality.
Yeah. And something that just even now we are reading through and a scripture that came as the Beatitudes, right? And those have the kingdom who mourn, right? Well, in the Passion Translation, it says, what delight comes to you when you wait upon the Lord, for you will find what you long for. And in his notes, he talks about, as translated, the Hebrew, the Greek is mourn, to grieve. The Hebrew word is wait for mourn is almost the same. So the Hebrew words wait and mourn are identical.
Yeah.
And that kind of like hit me like, we can mourn and we can grieve the promises that God hasn't yet fulfilled. And hasn't yet, because he will. He follows up on every promise that he has. But he's saying it's okay to mourn that promise and that not being fulfilled yet. Yeah.
And I like that the word wait and mourn are the same. That can be interchanged there because it's like waiting on him. Like he's such a good tour guide. Yeah. Such a good tour guide. He is. He's tour guide Jesus. I know, I'm ridiculous, but he is. And he's good at what he does. Like he's not going to leave us. We just have to wait on him. And I mean, the promise is that we'll rise up on wings like eagles when we wait on him. And that's been my story. That's been my experience with him, is that it was worth it. It was the darkest time of my life, but it was so worth it. And there's still what I would refer to as like aftershocks of the whole event, where there's moments where I am purely triggered by different things. In fact, this just happened to me a week and a half ago, maybe, in my Bible study group. We're reading through Song of Songs, and I am just like totally triggered by this one line in scripture, and I was going to blaze right through it. I was like, you know what? You're fine, Angie. Just put on your bulletproof vest and keep moving. But I really felt like Holy Spirit was like, what are you doing? Like, you're surrounded by these strong women that are going to sit in this with you, and it's going to be good. And so I finally got brave, and I was just like, okay, I'm having things happen here. And I just want to, and this is what one of them actually reminded. We were beyond this point in the story because we were reading Song of Songs, and but one of them reminded us, the whole group, because we were all just kind of like feeling the moment. And but she said, hey, remember back up in chapter 7 verse 11, it says, come away, my lover, come with me to the faraway fields. We will run away together to the forgotten places and show them redeeming love. And it was exactly what I needed to remember in that moment, was that Jesus is not afraid to return to the forgotten places. Like, he's going to go there because he's in the business of redeeming all things.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he does. He's the
Yeah.
Redeemer. He is the Redeemer kinsman is the way that he's referred to in the Passion Translation. And I love it when that's laid out like that, because I think that it's so true. He is our Redeemer kinsman.
Yeah.
And he's not afraid to go into those spaces that are hard.
Yeah.
Or to return to them. And that's the thing for me. It was like, I didn't want to go back there. I was like, you know what? That thing is sealed off. Not that I don't, because I still, I mean, like I said, you know, I found passion from my experience, but it was a return. There was a reason I needed to return to that place with him and with those ladies that morning. And it felt redeeming, and I needed it. I needed the redeeming of the moment, and it was nothing short of beautiful. It was, it really was. It was beautiful and redeeming.
So he does that.
Yes, he does. He's so good at what he does.
Mm-hmm. And just knowing, like, my story from when I was a kid has brought me, like, it's my passion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I lost my parents at a young age, and I wanted to be a therapist to give kids hope that I was given.
Yeah.
And, like, I definitely couldn't have told you when I was little that I sat with him, but I look back on it, and there were times that I did. I sat with Jesus in it, and even as an adult going back, it's like I sat with him. It's like, oh, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
There it is again. And to find that redemption and that passion that I have for kids and families, to be whole, comes from the hardest time of my life. My world literally was taken and turned upside down.
Okay, so you're gonna have to tell a story.
Right. I'll tell the story
because I think that the majority of people probably don't know.
Yeah. So when I was 10 years old, in 99, my dad died in a work accident in May. That year, May of 99, he died in a work accident. He was a tow truck driver and worked on cars and stuff, and kind of a weird accident. A car actually fell and crushed him. He died instantly. And so that summer, I couldn't even tell you what happened that summer, honestly. There's bits and pieces of it. But
how old were you?
I was 10. So 99, I was 10. And but we lived outside of, I was living in Jackson Hole at that time. And we lived outside of Jackson Hole, Wyoming, I think it was about an hour drive. And my mom still worked in town, though. So we drove in just about every day. Some days we would stay with friends, but we would drive in, and early in the morning for my mom to be at work on time. And my older brother, and I would stay with some friends during the day, play, hang out. She didn't like the idea of us being an hour and a half away from her. And so we would be there, and it was August 3rd, and we were driving in like every other day, and we were in a car accident. My mom, for whatever reason, swerved to the other side and hit a truck head on, killed my mom and brother instantly, and left me in the hospital for almost 2 weeks, and with crazy internal organ damage, broken bones. One of the craziest parts, and parts that I've always known Jesus was part of, is the seatbelt was actually choking me. I have a scar across my neck from the seatbelt, and there were some motorcyclists that came up behind me and cut the seatbelt, allowing me to breathe. Like, guys that I would love to meet as an adult. These motorcyclists that saved my life, the angels that they were. Like, I don't know how else they could have been. Like, the fact they were there, and I guess had full conversations with me. I was there enough for them to have conversations to keep me calm through it all. So yeah, definitely a hard time. Went through an 8-hour surgery and never had to have another surgery after that, which is really crazy with all the damage that my body had. But after I was released from a children's hospital, I moved to California. So I moved from Wyoming to California to live with my aunt and uncle and my 3 younger cousins. So my world literally was taken from being one of 2, a youngest child, to being the oldest in the home, the oldest kid in the home, and from Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where we had horses. I had horses in my backyard. And I was riding regularly to California a city town, like in a city in California, not just a little town that we were living in. So definitely a crazy encounter. And then I would say part of this and part of the redeeming part of it is all of that as a child growing up and stuff. My aunt and uncle, who are mom and dad to me now for sure, I was strong through it for sure, and they gave me so much hope and all the tools that I would say that I was so blessed to have going through that, to be able to have those tools to know how to grieve properly. But as an adult, I was sitting with Angie actually one time, Angie and Lisa one time, and they were praying over me, and Angie brought up, she's like, Jesus was there in the car with you. And I immediately went back to the car. I have very few memories of the actual accident, but there's one that I do have. And I went back to that memory and I looked over, and then next to me in the back seat, Jesus was sitting.
Wow.
And so going back to that as an adult, to that very dark place, like literally, like most of those memories literally are dark. And seeing Jesus there brings so much relief to me, almost knowing that in that moment, something that I have no doubt he doesn't want those things to happen to us, but he was there and sitting there with me, knowing that I'd be okay. So
wow, so that's so powerful.
It is, and I know it is. I know there's power behind it because Jesus was there.
Right.
There's power behind it because of that.
Right. Well, and I think that it's just so phenomenal that because there's no time and space with God, like he lives outside of that. And so no matter how much time had passed from you being a 10-year-old little girl losing everything you knew to, like, how long ago was that?
I was probably 30.
6 years ago, something like that.
Was it really 6 years ago? Maybe it was.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Time is just kind of like going by
I don't know.
since I've known you. But and to be able to realize that, like, Jesus will still go there and be found in those places with us. You just have to look. You have to look with your spiritual eyes, and that's why I'm always just like, Jesus really is a tour guide, and there's nowhere he's unwilling to go. Like, you can find him in so many places. We just have to be willing to see them.
And there's so much when we're able to see Jesus in those moments, and it's almost like you were saying, like that lid's closed on that. It's not that it's like closed, sealed, but it closes that. And for so long, that was my testimony. Somebody said, tell me your testimony. That was it. And lately I've been like, okay, somebody asked me to tell my testimony. I'm like, that feels like such a small piece of my testimony now. Where before that was it. That was all I had. It consumed it. Now, especially after that encounter where seeing Jesus in it, it almost gave it that finishing touch of it's done.
Yes. Oh,
it's done.
It is finished.
It is finished. It is finished. And there's more to come.
Yes. Wow.
So
that is it is a powerful testimony. You are right, Karen. It is. And Carla said those in grief must tell their story to at least one other. It's part of the process. I find that to be true.
Yeah. And that's kind of that finish. It is finished. It's like, I've told the story. I let God, I let Jesus encounter and impact that story, and it is finished.
Yeah. I remember one of the first women's conferences that we put on. When was that? 4 years ago, something like that. We had 4 women that were super brave and willing to get up on stage and tell. We called it like story time or something like that. And we just had like blankets spread out.
It was so much fun.
And the audience was just kind of lounging on these blankets as they were sharing their stories, and they were powerfully painful stories, and I remember, one of them was my daughter, and that's where my story is surrounded by the things that happened to her, and then two of her sisters, by a relative, and to hear her tell the story was a whole nother level of, it was pain, and at the same time I was so proud of her. I didn't know why I was bawling. I mean, it was like it was like a whole another level of redemption to have her give voice to the victory that she had found in Jesus through her own pain, and so it's so powerful. Stories are powerful. It's one thing, but for those of you who haven't watched the new episode of The Chosen, I'm just going to ruin it just a little bit.
Those that don't know The Chosen need to find The Chosen. We'll post it.
It's an app.
It's an app.
You need to find it. It's a whole thing. You need to have a little bit of The Chosen in your life. But anyway, one of the things that, and this is not going to ruin it at all, people, don't worry. But one of the things that Jesus had said in there, he was like talking to someone who was, it was all of them, the disciples and Jesus, and then they were bringing somebody else into the group, and he just simply says, he's like, this is what we do. We listen and we tell stories. And I thought, yes, this is what we do. We listen and we tell stories. Because that's what we've got. That's what we've got. We only have our testimony. We have our own encounter and our own experience that we share with one another. And that's why it's like so important that we do share.
We do.
Rather than isolate. I love that you used that word, isolate, because I feel like it is the most overused hiding spot right now. I just call isolation out. I'm calling you out, isolation.
Yes.
You need to just go, because isolation is dangerous.
It is so dangerous.
It's not like where we actually should be. We need to be. We're made for community.
Yeah.
We're made for community, and to listen and tell our stories. And that's how we build one another up, by mourning with those who mourn. And likewise, to celebrate with those who celebrate. And like Christy comes in here today with like this huge celebration. Just like, you can tell like her mouth is just filled with celebration, and she's just like, that's right! and I couldn't help myself. Like, I had to jump into the middle of her story and celebrate with her, because I'm just like, we have to do this. We have to step into each other's storylines and be where each other are at. And so if she had come down here, and she did, she came down here with two different things, locked and loaded. She came down here with, this is what happened last night, and I'm letting pain touch me. And I was like, okay. And I had to put myself in that with her. And then even with her celebration, I'm like, let's do that too. Let's like just, we're going to celebrate with each other, and we're going to sit in each other's grief.
Yes. And that's what we've built here with Starting Unedited Life, is we didn't even have a church building for the first year of doing this. And it was to sit with each other and do community with each other. And last night you were told to make macaroni and cheese for our thing, which is so funny. But it was, you were saying during the chat of, what is this bringing? I'm like, to me, to have that message saying, I have macaroni and cheese and come, it's like, community. There's my family. It's kind of like mom ringing the bell. There's an old cowbell's like, come for dinner. That's what it felt like. It's so like, come for dinner. The table's set. Come, you're invited. Of doing life together.
I love that. Well, and it's so funny because it was kind of ridiculous, honestly, to like say out loud. I'm like, okay, on Sunday night, Jesus like shows me myself making macaroni and cheese. On Wednesday, I'm like, you want me to make macaroni and cheese? Like, okay, I'll make macaroni and cheese. And I really like had only kind of agreed to this idea of making macaroni and cheese. And then Wednesday morning arrives, because it's Thursday, and Wednesday morning arrives, and I'm like he's calling me out. He's like, you're only half-hearted about this whole thing, and I want you to make macaroni and cheese tonight. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna make macaroni and cheese tonight. And so I called John and I'm like, I'm making macaroni and cheese. And I told him, I was like, I don't know for what reason, and I don't know for who, but Jesus ordered macaroni and cheese. And I cannot deny him. And so, but what's so interesting is like I was thinking about it this morning because I'm still going, don't really know why I made macaroni and cheese.
It was good.
But and there were people here. I didn't even have to make a big to-do about it. I mean, like Jesus just drew people, and there were people that didn't even know I was making macaroni and cheese that came and ate macaroni and cheese. I mean, it was just it was a bizarre encounter. And sometimes you're not going to know. You just need to go. You know, like we're not called to know. We're just called to go. And but this morning I was thinking about it. I'm like, Jesus, what is going on? Like, why did I make macaroni and cheese last night? Because it seemed to be kind of a big deal. And not the fact that I made macaroni and cheese, but that God asked me to make macaroni and cheese. Yeah. And so immediately the portion of Psalm 23 popped into my head about I set a table before your enemies. And because I've been thinking, God's been talking to me about moving in the opposite spirit of what is coming, what is opposing you. And I knew that isolation was opposing us, that we're having some issues with anti-community. So there was isolation that was coming against us. There's somewhat of a jealousy that's coming against us. And there is what I would refer to as kind of a sloth spirit of in movement, and what I like to call pause mentality that's going on. And so I'm going, okay, like I can identify what some of these areas are. And so God was just reminding me of all of that this morning. He was like, so you prepare a table before your enemy, and you have your friends come over and you make them macaroni and cheese, you know? And so I was just like, wow, that's so good. So you don't always know why he's calling you to do the things that he's calling you to do. You just do it. And so that was kind of a roundabout way of telling the story that we made macaroni and cheese last night. And then you guys show up. They show up with sloppy joes and chips, and we just feasted. We seriously did. And it was just like in passing, I was like, hey, I'm making macaroni and cheese. Like, you know, you can come if it works out in your schedule. And then I sent another message out to someone who I knew was coming down here, because we do our presence night on Wednesday night. And I knew that there was another person that would be headed down that way. And I was like, hey, we've got macaroni and cheese and sloppy joes, come feast, because it seemed like, you know, what we were doing. So anyway, sometimes you're doing big spiritual things when they don't feel like they're. Here's the deal. Big spiritual faith moves mountains. We know this. Oftentimes you don't know when you have stepped into faith. Someone's trying to call me. Not today. So I don't know if that makes sense to you, but we do. Like, we partner with faith without even realizing that we did it. Making macaroni and cheese, bringing down sloppy joes, having a meal together, just like on the fly. We stepped into faith because we're moving something. Do we know exactly what it is? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But that was our experience last night. Yeah. So,
and it was good.
Yeah. And it has everything to do with what we're talking about, because there is some painful things going on right now that we're like, okay, we've let it touch us. Now it's time to actually do something about it, and not just like allow it to continue to be a part of, because we live in such a spiritual world. And so there's things that are coming at us. And so we just decided that we were going to do something about it. Yeah. Move in the opposite spirit. I just love Graham Cook. Graham Cook says that all the time. He's like, whatever is opposing you, move in the opposite spirit. You can take that. You can take that to the bank, people, because it works.
It does. It
So,
does.
Oh, please, I heard your voicemail. I don't know who it was, though.
And when we sit and we do that, when we move in the opposite spirit, whatever that story is that you're living in, that grief or whatever it is that you're living in, and you push through that and move towards community. Yes. You can't do this alone. I can't remember. I feel like we've had a few people out here comment that you have to tell your story. You have to get it out. Yeah. When you push through that and are able to tell your story and sit in that and have people around you that'll sit in your story with you for a little bit, not saying stay there, because we don't want you to stay there. We want you to keep pushing through it, that life comes and it brings others along with you.
Right.
further and further.
Yes. Yes. Carla said, telling those stories gets us out from under the shame
Yeah.
the enemy is trying to oppress us with. It brings the light of the Holy Spirit shining with a cleansing, joyous truth and healing. Come on.
Yes.
That's so good. So good. So yeah, gosh, this has been a fun conversation. And I know that it's like one of those things. It's like, I don't know if we
It's a
really
hard
want to
one.
go there, but
Yeah.
the thing is, we decided that we can actually find bliss in the grief.
Yeah, we can. We can. It's
Yeah.
definitely where I'm sitting right now is
Mhm.
recognizing the grief that's around, not even in my own life, in others' lives also,
Yeah.
recognizing that there's some hard things going on in our world.
Yeah, there is.
In our world here, just at
Mhm.
in Junction City, and
Right.
the global world, there's some hard things going on.
Yeah,
And almost God giving me permission, it's okay.
yeah.
You're strong enough to sit in it.
Yeah.
and
What
be
was the
okay with
name?
that.
What was the name of the song that came on
I don't
last night
know.
that hit us all so hard? Hold on, I'm looking it up because you guys are gonna like this, and I'll just share it because I think that's probably the
Yes.
easier way to.
It's this worship love also.
Yeah, Worship Mob. They've got it going on.
They do.
If you haven't heard of Worship Mob, you certainly need to look it up. Okay, this song is called Never Far. Oh my gosh. When this song came on, my first instinct was, what is this?
Let's skip through this one.
Yes, that's what I wanted. I was like, skip, because I didn't want to feel that.
Mm-hmm.
And I am telling you what, the room filled. I mean, there was just such a presence that was in the room, and I was like, okay, we're going here. and the whole song is just absolutely declaring the nearness of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you guys will probably like it too. It just is like a kind of gut wrenching, but it like positioned us all in a space of mourning with those who mourn. We just started feeling the pain that each other was carrying, and it was just beautiful. It was piercing but beautiful. Yeah. So yeah. There's beauty in brokenness.
There is. And I think you have to go back to community.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a community with people to want to feel that pain that each other carries, to celebrate it. I know I've been in some spots. I was a therapist for a few years that it was really hard to sit in the pain of some of the clients that came in.
Yeah.
And it was those that didn't want others in, that wanted to isolate from it, that didn't necessarily want to be here because they didn't want people in that. So it's hard to sit in those spaces.
Yeah.
But it's easy to sit in the space and the grief and the pain when it's somebody that wants you there and that you've built community with.
Yeah.
I think it's easier. I'm not saying it's easy. Grief is not necessarily easy, but there's more joy found in it.
Yeah. I'm just like, I'm hearing just like this phrase of isolating from self. And I don't know if that's even
I don't know if it's a thing.
I don't know if it's a thing,
I can
but
feel that.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that maybe some people that are watching struggle with, is even isolating from yourself. Like you've become so numb to what's really going on in your life that you just kind of like isolate from yourself. And I really feel just honestly like I see Jesus's hand just so extended to you right now, and he's just longing for you to take it. Just take his hand. And you can trust him. Whatever it is that you feel afraid of in your own life, you can trust him. Just take his hand. And Carla keeps sending me messages to help with our conversation. I love it.
Yes.
Yes, isolating self is probably something like refusing to experience your feelings, acknowledge them, say them out loud, pull them to you, and sit. Yes, that's so good, so good, so good. Yeah. And so anyway, if that's you, let's pray.
Yeah,
let's just pray for people, because I know that this is somewhat of a heavy topic, and pain is going to be a part of everyone's story.
Mhm.
We are not promised to escape pain. That's not the thing. We have to partner with pain and understand that it's actually carving out depth in us and isolating yourself from what's actually going on is it's not benefiting you. And the lie is that the pain will destroy you. That's the lie. Isolating yourself from it is what's destroying you. And so I just want to take a moment and just pray over the people watching this, whether it's now or later. Jesus, we just right now we see your hand extended, and we know that you are the one that goes after the one. You are him that goes after the one, that you leave the 99 and you go after the one that is isolating from community and isolating from themselves. And you're the one that picks that little lambkin up and pulls it close around your neck and to return it. And I just feel like the return to the community is such an intimate walk, that you're just speaking life into and over that one. I just feel your heart. It's just so for that one that feels so distant and so far away, so broken, like trust is so far from them, and just wallowing in just despair. And so right now, I just declare over you that you are not alone. You're not alone. It's impossible for you to be alone. You were spoken into existence at the day of creation. And so you're the very word of God spoken. You're not alone because he draws close to his own words. Jesus, we just thank you that you're the one who draws close and never leaves. You never leave. You never leave. And I'm just asking, Holy Spirit, that right now you invade all of our personal spaces, that you just come in, like the floodgates are open and you just come in and you love on us right where we're at, and that you just whisper those reaffirming words that we are safe in you.
Just see God reaching down to us, as Angie said, and reaching down and wanting to pull you in and pull you into like a big Papa Bear hug.
Yeah.
That big hug that you can feel wrapped all around you, but he's not going to force it. You have to put your hand up and let him grab you. So I just declare right now that, Lord, you would give us the strength to reach up to you, Jesus, and feel that hug as you pull us in and wrap us in close. And sit with us and let us grieve the things that are hurting, the things that have not yet come. Let us grieve in the waiting.
Yeah.
And Lord, give us the strength and the passion to want to reach out to others and tell our stories, knowing that those same people will be there when we get to celebrate the victory that is to come.
Yeah. I just have this picture of someone who feels like they're drowning, and it's like the whole drowning scene of coming up above and then coming back, going back underwater. And I just hear God just declaring so loud and boldly, put your feet down. Like he has established such a strong footing underneath you. Put your feet down. You are safe. You're on safe ground. Just put your feet down. I just feel like when we feel like we have done all there is to do, what's left is to stand. Just stand. Put your feet down. He's got you. He's got you. And he makes us brave. We don't have to conjure up bravery. He makes you brave. Yeah. Well, guys, we're going to hop off. Thanks for joining us. It's been fun talking.
It has been fun.
Thank you for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
I love that you're brave enough to do that.
Yeah.
So, well, guys, have a great rest of your Thursday.
Yes.
One of these days, I'm gonna get it right. I'm gonna say Thursday,
I'm not worried about
not Wednesday, not Friday.
it. My days all run together.
Yes, that's kind of what this week's been like. Anyway, guys, be blessed. We love you, and we'll share the YouTube video
Yes.
of the song that kind of is to blame for all of this.
Oh, beautiful song.
Yes, it is a beautiful song. Anyway, bye-bye.